Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. We've had TV shows set in hospitals before, but never anything quite like the Knick. The Cinemax TV drama takes place at the Knickerbocker Hospital, where in 1900, where innovative surgeons and nurses are trying to advance medicine, but at the same time they're dealing with a whole host of personal and professional issues. Paul Hewson plays Nurse Lucy Elkins, who arrives from West Virginia, wide-eyed, ready to roll, but at the end of the season finds herself in a very different place. Eve,
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So when you got the pilot, Stephen, they you're going to audition for this show, and they send you the pilot script. What did you know about Nurse Elkins?
I remember there was a log line that said, like, she's a naive young nurse, just moved from West Virginia to New York, isn't the smartest nurse at the hospital. And that was kind of all I had, and then I had the pilot script where she gets herself into a compromising situation, so I was excited to audition.
Yeah, I mean, and it's Steven Soderbergh, so even if you're not, that log line doesn't sound like the most exciting thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I met him and Greg, our producer, and they said to me, just so you know, she's gonna go down the rabbit hole, and your parents aren't gonna wanna see this. And I thought, great, let's do it.
Which is that's what every actor wants to
Yes.
hear, right?
Yeah,
Your parents
exactly.
won't want to watch this. That means some really good stuff is going to be happening.
Yeah, I called my parents and I was like, I got the part and you're not gonna be able to watch it. They were very excited.
So that was, they understood too.
Yeah, they got it.
Yeah. But they probably still watched it, I'm guessing.
They did. I made them watch it. I forced them to watch it.
Not like they would have
I wasn't in the room though.
And just, I think every interview with you is like, just so you know, her parents are Paul Hewson. Yes, another rock star with a single name, Bono and Paul Hewson.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, they're going to be watching every episode, right?
Yeah, they watched every episode, and I think they got.
What were the conversations like after particular episodes?
My parents were funny about it, but they were really supportive, and my mom just kept saying to my sister, "She's so good, she's so good."
Yeah.
And then I think my dad had a few moments where he went, "Ah, ah, ah." I think that was the reenaction I got.
Yeah.
But they love the show. I mean, they love Steven's work. They just think it's amazing. My dad is just like, I had no idea it was going to be so much about medicine, and it's so interesting. And, he's like, it's like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's what he says about the writing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're big fans.
I mean, I guess we should go into a little bit about what your dad's shielding his eyes from here.
Right.
I mean, in the first episode, and you mentioned it too, Clive Owen's character, Dr. Thackeray, genius. But I mean, when you work at a place like the Knick, there are things you have to do to be able to keep working there, to be able, because it's a gruesome kind of place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a survival of the fittest type of show. And Lucy is sort of like the litmus test of that environment, and she's sort of the most untouched by the environment when the show starts, and then you sort of see how she weaves her way through it, and what happens to her, and how is she going to survive, what choices is she going to make, is she going to be corrupt like everybody else. So yeah, that's what was fun about playing her, was that she kind of goes on this wild journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the first episode, you see one of the senior surgeon blow his brains out, and that seems like almost a rational response to daily life in this hospital.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of death around it, and that's her first experiences. She's been at the hospital for 3 weeks when episode 1 starts. So you get to see her take it in almost like the audience does.
Right, she's kind of like the every person, leading through this madhouse kind of thing. And by the end of that first episode, she has to go find Dr. Thackeray, he's not in a state.
Yeah, so he's been addicted to cocaine, which a lot of doctors back then were, because it wasn't illegal and it helped them stay up all night and try and, work out these surgeries and keep them focused. So, yeah, he's trying to get off the drug and he's trying to go through withdrawals, but there is a patient who is in need of help and is dying. So she has to go find him, and all of his veins are so collapsed that the only vein that she can find is in his crotch.
Yes. Well, he directs her there.
Yes, he does.
And again, you mentioned she's not, the log line said not the smartest nurse, but I mean, she rises to the occasion.
She does, and what I loved even when I read the first pilot was she knocks on the door twice, she calls out his name, and then she just sort of like lifts up her skirt and gets in through the window. You know, it's like you can tell that this girl is from the mountains in West Virginia. she
resourceful.
Knows, yeah, exactly. She's resourceful.
And curious.
And curious.
Yeah, I mean, and you see that, as the progression through the series, and this show has been on for a while, so I kind of feel like I don't even need to say spoilers, because if
Right.
you haven't watched it now,
Yeah.
but
Shame on you.
yeah, shame on you, exactly. But yeah, I mean, she's presented kind of with a choice. There's a nice doctor there, Birdie,
Of course, yeah.
who takes a fancy to her,
Yeah.
and yet she goes with this cocaine-addled
Yeah.
Dr. Thackeray.
That to me was sort of, that relationship with Birdie is sort of like what could have been,
Right.
It sort of shows that it's not like she doesn't have a choice to only be with Thackeray and sort of live in this like dangerous life and like date the bad boy. She could have a pleasant life, but she chooses not to, and that shows something, that she's attracted to danger. She's moved to New York, she's looking for excitement. Beneath it, she really wants to find something exciting. And so, yeah, poor Birdie, he misses out, and she just goes for the drug addict, which is classic women, they're always going for the bad boy.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny, you see, Birdie, asking her out, and he's like trying to protect her virtue, and then meanwhile we've seen
what she's been getting up to. I know.
It's pretty funny. I mean, there's a good character revelation, I think, for Lucy, in when they're in bed. She's in bed with Thackeray, and they're discussing like her father.
Yeah.
And so she came from a very conservative background.
She came from, her dad is a Pentecostal preacher. So you sort of understand that, she was brought up around a very strong man who is in charge, and so she's attracted to that kind of strength. And actually in season 2 you get to learn a lot about that. But yeah, you can kind of understand like where she's coming from. She's a Christian, and she's kind of the opposite to Thackeray, which is why I think he's attracted to her, because he's so broken that he's attracted to this sort of young, light soul, and he sort of needs her to feel sort of good again. And unfortunately, that sort of takes the good out of her.
I know. I was going to say this young, light soul, and by the end of the season, that light in her eyes has diminished quite a bit. You know? Yeah. I mean, when they're in bed together, and she's saying, "My father is right. The devil is in all of us."
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's probably means that the sex was pretty good, right?
What?
No, I mean, but probably if you're saying that.
Well, I mean, she's brought up in like a Christian community that believes in the devil.
Yeah.
And she's brought up fearing the devil, and so she believes that what she's doing is sinful.
Right.
And he sort of teaches her that this isn't sinful. Like loving someone
he's saying
is not.
All these pleasures are.
Yeah, but there's this element of like sexual repression throughout the whole show. With Cornelia as well, like she wants to be with this guy and she can't be, and so, you know, she ends up in a sick way sort of being punished because she has to have an abortion, and you know, Lucy is sort of an example of that too, that she thinks that what she's doing is bad, and you know, women at that time weren't allowed to enjoy sex the way that, you know, they are now.
Right.
So I think that's like a really important story.
It is, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and even with Sister Harriet too.
Right.
Yeah, the whole issue of like women's health and abortion, it's like really important, I think, for people to watch that now and say, look what we were doing back then. Has it changed? I mean, in this country it hasn't. It has, but in other countries it hasn't, you know.
Right, that's kind of the beauty of the show, is that you not only see how the surgical practice has changed, and they were pretty barbaric then, but even a lot of the societal attitudes were equally barbaric.
Absolutely.
And you know, 100 years ago, I mean, it's not that long ago.
Exactly, yeah, it's not that long, and somehow not a lot has been done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely not a show for the squeamish.
No, and don't watch it with your dinner. I've had so many text messages, people have texted me, oh my God, you should have told me, you know, they are pregnant or something and they watched the first episode, or they were eating their dinner and they feel nauseous. So yeah, you have to make sure you've digested your food.
Probably a pregnant woman, doesn't want to watch that first episode. There's
I know,
just
you really don't. You really don't.
How do you guys film those scenes? What do they do to set up the effects of those?
I mean, we have the best makeup artists and special effects team, and they sort of, the actors come in and for the pregnant women, they build sort of a bodysuit that they sort of step into, and then that has blood pumping into it, and we slice it open and they put the baby inside. But there's also sort of like, you know, organs in there, and it's pretty gross.
Amazing.
But we only really have one take to do it when you slice the belly open. So there is sort of an urgency that, oh, we have to get this right. We can't do this again because it's been so expensive to make.
Right.
So Stephen will shoot it, and we'll all be like trying to do our job right. So there is that urgency, like doctors have, sort of. But you know, we could do a second take.
It's
Doctors
not life
can't
or
do a
death.
second. Yeah,
but,
exactly.
The production company wouldn't be happy.
Exactly.
I heard something interesting too, that okay, you got 10 episodes of this, so, and they run about 50 minutes, they kind of vary in length, but you're dealing with, you know, basically 10 hours, and he shot this like a 10-hour movie.
Yeah.
Not episode by episode, but it was all out there.
Yeah. So yeah, we shot it sort of location by location. We have a warehouse in Greenpoint where we have all of our stages inside the hospital, but then outside the hospital we do in Brooklyn, and Thackeray's house is in Harlem, and so we had 2 days, I think, at Thackeray's house to do all of Clive and I's scenes for the whole show.
Right.
From like the penis injecting scene to like the love scenes to when he's like, we need to take him to rehab. It's all there in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a head wreck for an actor, but you just have to talk to your script supervisor. The writers are on set, and you just kind of go like, when was the last time I saw him, and what was I doing, and where am I coming from? And they all kind of help you, and you get into it.
Yeah, 2 days to film all those scenes. I mean, I remember reading an interview with you. You know, everybody talks about the penis injection scene because it's the first episode.
Yeah.
But and I guess that was the first scene you shot that day. But you were like going into the day thinking, well, I got a lot of serious.
Absolutely, that was the first thing up, and I really wasn't thinking about that one.
Because there were so many other scenes.
There were so many other big
that were
scenes.
Going to be challenging.
You know, most of my work really was those 2 days, so I was like, really just hope these 2 days go well. But we were 3 months into shooting at that point, so I knew everybody on set, and I was comfortable with everybody. Me and Stephen had a good thing going, so it wasn't that daunting.
So you already know. When are you going to start? Have you started filming?
We started filming, yeah. So we're like a month in now.
And so season 2, you kind of teased it a little bit, like there's going to be some even crazier.
Season 2, I think you
can't-
just get to see sort of what Lucy, season 1 is about what Lucy learns, and then season 2 is sort of about, you know, what she does with that, with her tricks and the tools that she's picked up. It's really interesting.
So the learning curve for her is going to be even more dramatic.
Oh yeah, season 2 is mega. Lucy 2.0.
So the shielding, are you seeing the shielding of the eyes is going to be even, you know, more often for?
Yeah, for everyone. I mean, season 2 is, they really stepped it up. It's incredible. The writers, everybody. It's really amazing.
Did the, I mean, because season 1 ends with Dr. Thackeray. I mean, that's, you know, just again going back to how things were back then and how amazing it, you know, he goes into drug rehab.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to Google this,
Yeah.
you know, because they're saying, well, it's going to be okay. We're going to get you off this cocaine, and we have something to help ease the process. And it's made by the Bear Aspirin Company, so rest assured, it's fine. And then they show the image. I think it's the last thing, you know. It's Bear heroin.
Yeah.
And I Googled it, and it's
True.
It's true, and it's the exact label.
That's what's shocking about our show, is that you watch it and you go, that's ridiculous. That couldn't have happened. But it actually did. And these are real things. Like, they really did treat cocaine addiction with heroin. The storyline with Dr. Gallagher and his wife, who goes crazy, and then they go to this doctor, Dr. Cotton. He really did take out people's teeth because he had this theory that the bacteria in your teeth rotted your brain, and that's why you went crazy. And he really did do this to his children to prevent them from going crazy. So it's incredible. It's like an amazing history lesson. And Stephen had us read this book by Luke Santi called Low Life, and it's sort of like about that time. And you read it and you go, there's no way. But it really, it's really true.
Yeah.
I had a woman come up to me on the street and she was like, I'm loving you on the Knick. I really am. But that scene where you cut off that man's arm, that's ridiculous. There's no way that happened. I mean, I kept watching for you, but that's crazy. I was like, they really did amputate people's arms. That really did happen.
You're like Googling, okay?
Yeah, I'm like, this is how they do it.
I know.
But yeah, people have a hard time believing that that could actually be real.
Was your mom familiar with Soderbergh's work when you got the role?
I think our whole family, you know, Aaron Brockovich, Traffic, we all. I did tell a story that I made my mom watch Magic Mike, and she hates when I talk about it. She's like, stop.
Well, that's
I knew you were going to ask about it.
You knew where I was going with this.
Yeah,
because I heard you sat down with your mom and said, let's watch Magic Mike together.
Yeah.
And so I wondered if it was like, well, this is who I'm working with here.
No, she knew. My whole family knew who Soderbergh was, of course.
Yeah.
But she hadn't seen Magic Mike.
Okay,
And
that was the one missing
piece in his
filmography.
haven't lived until you've seen Magic Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was some rewinding, I understand.
There was a little rewinding of the dancing, yeah.
And then Channing Tatum was your wrap party present.
He came to our wrap party.
That was Steven Soderbergh's gift to...
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say it was a gift, but he was there, and we got to hang out with him and bowl with him, so that was really exciting.
Did you tell your mom?
I did tell my mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pictures? Selfie?
I didn't take any pictures, no. I should have.
Well, we will look forward to season 2. I mean, I can't wait now based on what you've told me.
It's honestly, it's even better than the first season.
Just make sure you don't eat while watching. Eat at least an hour before, right?
Absolutely.
It's kind of like a swimming thing.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming
Thank
down
you
here.
so much.
And for continued television coverage, as always, please go to latimes.com.